El Salvador, authorities registered over 68,000 arrests under the state of exception in force since March 2022 to fight gun violence. In Portugal, President Luis Ignacio da Silva signed a total of 13 agreements and alliances with Portugal during the 13th Luso-Brazilian summit. And in Sudan, several nations begin evacuating their citizens as the second week of fighting between the army and paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces continues. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The government of El Salvador totals almost 68,000 arrests under the state of exception in force since March 27, 2022. The measure, which has been in force for over a year, has been criticized in several occasions by other political forces and human rights organizations. Opponents of the measure claim that it has an unacceptable cost for the people and call on the executive branch to develop a comprehensive security plan to solve the gang problem without violating human rights and constitutional guarantees. Meanwhile, authorities detailed that as of April 16th, over 3,000 vehicles, 2,000 firearms, and some 16,000 cell phones have been seized. The Bolivian government denounced right-wing plans to destabilize the country in order to undermine President Luis Arce's administration. During a cabinet meeting, the Bolivian head of state and Vice President David Choquehuanca denounced that the national and international right wing seeks to create uncertainty and anxiety among the Bolivian people. The purpose is to promote the idea of an economic crisis, paving the way for a political crisis. The final statement says that economic stability is a common heritage of the Bolivian people, and its reconstruction is a governmental priority. In this sense, Luis Arce's government calls on Bolivians to be absolutely confident that his administration cares for the national economy and is working tirelessly for its steady growth with social justice. India and the 15 Caribbean community countries agreed to hold an annual business summit to address common aspirations and challenges. The information was released by His Excellency Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, Indian Foreign Minister, in Georgetown, capital of Guyana, where he is currently in the framework of a 4-day visit to that country. This summit, which date has not been announced yet, will be held alternatively in India and in a Caribbean country. Jai Shroff, chairman of Indian Industry Confederation, noted that Guyana is attracting growing international interest with the recent discovery of oil and gas in that country, which has opened up tremendous opportunities for its development. Shroff called for greater cooperation between his country, the Caribbean, and Latin America. Colombia celebrates Bogota's 35th International Book Fair with the participation of some 500 guests from 25 countries. Since last Tuesday, April 18th, different authors have participated in more than 1,800 activities following the cultural program of Filbo 2023. Celebrated in Corferias, located in the fairgrounds of the Colombian capital. In this event, which will cover a whole week, writers from all over the world will present their books in a wide variety of literary proposals, including novels, children's books, self-improvement, fiction stories, and biographies. Other parts of Bogota and cities like Medellin, Popayán, and Cúcuta will be housing many other activities such as talks on Colombian cultural heritage and the importance of culture in the construction of peace. Human rights organizations and relatives of prisoners murdered in detention centers filed an appeal against the Ecuadorian state. On Saturday, the relatives of the deceased went to the Provincial Court of Guayas to file a lawsuit against the state demanding truth, justice, and reparation for the victims of the prison massacres. The prisoners' relatives also pointed out that they have received cruel and degrading treatment. For these reasons, they request a public apology from the government, as well as the creation of a truth commission. The plaintiffs pointed out that with these actions, the state violated the constitutional rights of those killed, as well as those of their relatives. The President of the National Assembly of Vietnam, Nguyen Dinh Huê, concluded his official visit to Cuba, which began on April 19th with the aim of strengthening the ties of brotherhood and solidarity between the two countries. During his stay in Havana, the member of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam developed an intensive program at the head of a numerous delegation integrated by parliamentarians, ministers, and other leaders. The program included talks with Army General Raúl Castro, the President of the Republic, Miguel Díaz-Canel, Prime Minister Manuel Marrero, and officials of the Cuban Parliament. Guo visited the city of Santiago de Cuba, where he placed a floral offering in tribute to the historical leader of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro Ruz, and to the national hero of Cuba, José Martí. In this way, he concluded his visit to the island and returned to his country. Gun sales soar in the U.S. amid a new wave of mass shootings. Only in April, the nation saw 4 people shot, one fatally in New York, Kansas City, and Texas. According to figures from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 2021, firearm deaths surpassed those caused by motor vehicle traffic, 48,830 to 45,404. The number of instant criminal background checks processes required before a gun can be purchased is also increasing. There are 120 firearms for every 100 U.S. citizens, according to the Swiss organization Small Arms Survey. SIS researchers estimate that citizens own 393 million of the 857 million civilian guns available, representing about 46% of the world's arsenal. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio da Silva signed a total of 13 agreements and alliances with Portugal during the 13th Luso-Brazilian Summit as part of his official visit to the European nation. According to official reports, the agreements cover areas such as culture, education, health, transportation, science, tourism, and technology, including a memorandum of understanding between the space agencies of Brazil and Portugal. The equivalents of degrees in basic and higher education are also among the agreements signed, which will facilitate the entry of students from both nations as well as the mutual recognition of driver's licenses. The other cooperation treaties refer to improvements in the area of health, witness protection, good practices, and the rights of people with disabilities, energy, biometric research, and communication. Hundreds of people marched in the city of Madrid to remember Spanish cameraman José Couso, who was killed in Iraq in 2003 when U.S. occupying forces attacked a Palestinian hotel in Baghdad. To this day, the investigation has not clarified the details of his death, and Couso's family is calling for justice a day before U.S. troops took over the Iraqi capital in 2003. Their tanks carried out several attacks that allegedly targeted the international press. 3 reporters covering the war were killed. Meanwhile, official data indicate that at least 230 media workers were killed during the U.S. invasion of Iraqi territory. José Couso is among those killed, and his acquaintances are still demanding an investigation into his death. Couso's family has appealed to the highest judicial authorities in Spain without response. Then the relatives undertook the search for justice at the European Court of Human Rights, which has not yet ruled. In Sweden, citizens protest against the country's nomination to become a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization led by the United States. Under the slogans "No to NATO," "NATO's war will get our children killed for $1," citizens mobilized in 17 cities to call on officials to adhere to the country's traditional foreign policy path, which involves staying away from military alliances and remaining neutral. In that sense, they expressed their rejection to the ongoing military exercise Aurora 23, an event in which 26,000 participants, mainly from NATO member states, have gathered to train with the Swedish armed forces. Those mobilized consider NATO to be a war alliance that could drag Sweden into a conflict they say do not want to be part of. In France, the National Federation of Mines and Energy, one of the trade unions that is part of the General Confederation of Labour, announced 100 days of action and anger against the government of President Emmanuel Macron. The FNME statement said that in the face of Macron's words of 100 days of appeasement, they promised him 100 days of action and anger. It also set a national day of energetic anger for May 3rd and encouraged Macron to resign. The FNME threatened power cuts during events of global interest such as the Cannes Film Festival, the Roland Garros tournament, and the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix. The union pledged response to the anti-democratic methods of the country's authorities, who approved a controversial pension reform pushed by President Emmanuel Macron, pushing back the retirement age from 62 to 64. In Italy, the government is studying the possibility of abandoning the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative in the face of growing tensions between the United States and the Asian giant. According to local media, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni wanted to make an announcement about Italy's involvement in the initiative before the Group of Seven summit to be held from May 19th to the 21st in Japan. However, because opinions on the agreement are divided within Meloni's administration, she has been cautious about making a statement. Italy is the only G7 country to join the initiative, having signed a memorandum of understanding with China in 2019. Experts estimate that trade and diplomatic relations between Italy and China could be affected if the European nation decides not to renew the treaty. The Russian government warned about the termination of the grain agreement if the G7 vetoed all exports for its market. National Security Council Vice President Dmitry Medvedev said that should G7 enforce the measure, Russia would respond with a reciprocal ban on imports from Moscow, including the most sensitive categories of goods for the G7, such as the Black Sea Grain Agreement, which allows grain exports from Ukraine. On April 20th, G7 member countries confirmed they were considering the modification of the current sanctions regime to veto all exports to Russia, except those granted special exemptions such as medicines and agricultural products, including food. According to local media, the new restriction could be made official during the G7 summit in Hiroshima to be held next May. The U.S. authorities did not issue entry visas to Russian journalists accompanying Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on his trip to the UN headquarters in New York to participate in the Security Council meetings. Let's listen to what the head of Russian diplomacy said in response to what he called rude behavior.
We will have to work for you too. We will have to show more energy to deliver the truth to the world's community. Try to keep track of what we will be doing through our channels and spread the truth. A country that calls itself the strongest, smartest, free, has just chickened out. They did a stupid thing and showed what oaths and pledges to protect freedom of speech, access to information are really worth.
TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy Latin American alternative broadcasts. One final short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Sudan, several nations begin evacuating their citizens as the second week of fighting between the army and paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces continues. Foreign countries have started to evacuate their nationals who were being held in Sudan amidst the armed clashes. The first country to complete the evacuation of its citizens was Saudi Arabia. The evacuees made a journey by land and then by boat to leave Sudan. After this, the United States assured that it managed to evacuate all these government personnel in the city of Khartoum, the capital of the country. France became the first European country to remove its diplomatic mission and some 250 citizens from Sudan. The diplomatic staff of China called on its nationals in Sudan to evacuate as soon as possible, while Turkey and Egypt are working on a plan to evacuate theirs. The United Nations World Food Programme warned of a refugee exodus from Sudan to neighboring Chad amid continued fights between the country's army and paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces. The program reported that it is preparing to receive at least 100,000 citizens after it was confirmed that some 10,000 to 20,000 Sudanese had already crossed the common border into Chad, just 1 week after clashes began in the capital Khartoum and other areas of the country. Most of the people arriving are women and children who are currently living in the streets. This came after Sudan's army announced it would facilitate the evacuation of diplomats and nationals from the United Kingdom, United States, France, and China. Over 400,000 refugees from Sudan are already living in eastern Chad, and the new arrivals pose an additional challenge to the country's strained public services and resources. In Israel, thousands of people took to the streets for the 16th consecutive week in rejection of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial reform. Tens of thousands demonstrated in Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities against the controversial bill, which they see as an attack on democracy. Demonstrations continue even though the government coalition announced on March 27th a pause to start a period of dialogue. Opponents of the bill denounced that this reform seeks to weaken the justice system and expands the Prime Minister's powers.
We come every week and we are concerned about the government's plan to reform the judicial system that will turn Israel from a democracy into a dictatorial government of corrupted thieves. We come
The emotions continue at Alba's fifth sports game. Now let's review what has been happening in fencing. SUR saw quite some action on Sunday with the match between the Venezuelan striker Antonelli and his Nicaraguan opponent Celso Espinosa, after which the former emerged soundly victorious with a final score of 5-0. Venezuelan Cesar Aguirre and Angel Martinez also crossed swords, but Aguirre's hand moved swiftest since he won 5-1. On the other hand, Antonelli defeated the Bolivian Angelo Garcia in a new duel 5-2. We now continue reporting on a different event. Now we talk about judo. On Sunday, athletes disputed women's 78 kg division and men's 81 kg division. Among women, Venezuelan Lynn Garcia won the gold medal, followed by silver medal winner Nicaraguan Tatiana Valenzuela and bronze medal Cuban Dianet Cardona. Among men, Cuban Ruben Romero won the gold medal against Venezuelan Jesus Otero. Nicaraguans Edgar Justiniano and Julio Barbas completed the podium with the bronze. And after 2 days of competitions at the 5th Alba Games, Venezuela leads the medal standings. The hosts, with their teams A and B, the most numerous competing in the 33 discipline schedule, already won 47 gold medals, 52 silver medals, and 27 bronze medals for a total of 126, followed by Cuba with 265 athletes in 24 disciplines, with an initial haul of 17 gold, 7 silver, and 5 bronze. Nicaragua is currently third with 3 gold, 10 silver, and 19 bronze, followed by Bolivia with 2 gold and 2 bronze. In addition, athletes from Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Russia take part in the regional event as guest countries. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.